Hi everyone, welcome back. So this video is for ACT 37 English reading section, passage 3 and 4. So we're going to start with the humanities. Humanities usually is for storytelling as well. So when you read storytelling, you have to pay attention to who, what, and why. Sometimes when and where as well. We're gonna look at the question first, and then I'm gonna go over the passages. So main purpose is 21 and 22. First paragraph, and then it says that the role of Calloway, and then Nicholas Brothers in 19 and then question 23, second paragraph. So 21 and then line 21, and I'll put 23 here. And then also next one, line 32, 24, line 32, 24. And then according to Mills Music, songs published in 18 original Negro spiritual were first sung by, okay. And then 26, according to the passage, vocalist who sings several notes within the space of single syllable is demonstrating. Okay. And then single syllable. And then 27, line 27, distinct. 27 is 20, distinct. And then 27. And 28, according to the passage, the blues singer confront the harshness of the world. Which of the following passages happened first chronologically? And then according to the passage, what quality did Tarp add Mahalia Jackson lacks? Oops. Okay, let's go to passage. So it says something about biography, and then move on to first paragraph. Sister Rosetta Tharp, as she is professionally billed, was not supposed to be highlight of the ball 1938. Since there's a question that associate with chronologically, like first happened in chronological order, then you have to pay attention to when as well. And then first page, the variety of show, Hedling, Cab, Hello, and Nicholas Brothers, the young dancers, thrilled the audience with acrobatic elegance. Originally, this emerging gospel singer was just a gamble, signed by Herman Stark for 2 weeks, and blah, blah, blah. An easy print of an advertisement did not mention her name. Excuse me. And yet from the outset, audience were thrilled by Rosetta's unusual sound and style. Newspaper reporter, so unusual sound and style. Black struggle for right word and describe her. Use some variation, swing to convey rhythmic quality called swinger of spirituals, and spiritual swinging favorite, hymn swinging evangelist, and all those things that you see. So question 23, if you go, it says it can be reasonably inferred from the second paragraph, news supporters believe the quality of Tharp's sound and style was something that we don't know, like specifically, but then at least we know that it talks about line 27. Musically, all sprang from source of enslaved culture, both confront harshness of word. Oh, no, not that part. I'm sorry. Line 15, I'm saying. Line 15, most use of some variation of this. So that's all like different things that you see from her music. So that's why the different is important. So that's why it's B. Oops. And then move on to next paragraph. Still others compare Rosetta to Bessie Smith, the blues singer whose career was cut short by 1937 car accident. And then like Smith, Rosetta presented a compelling picture of black female self-assuring, vigor means energy when she performed. Indeed, her gospel blues and Smith's secular blues were not all that distinct. Musically, both sprang from source and slave culture, and then similarity that it talks about too. So I think there's a one question about Bessie Smith. Yeah. So let's go to like 27 first. 27, it says, the distinct, in this case, is different. This is a pretty obvious one, straightforward. Because it says, not all that's different. And then it says, musically, both sprang from. So both is another hint. And question 24, comparison between singer Bessie Smith and Tharp. In third paragraph, because they want to like see the similarity between. That's like the 27 and 24 is kind of a similar question, not that different. That's why similarity is we find it from H. And move on to the next paragraph. It says, line 33 from October to December 1938. So this is 38. Event profound, lasting significance to Rosetta's career occurred almost weekly. Irving Mills approached Rosetta in mid-October, soon had her signed to the exclusive publishing contract. And then it says, line 39, 18 original Negro spiritual. I believe that, there's one question about this one. Let me see. Yeah, question 25. According to Mills' music, the song published in 18 original Negro spirituals were first sung by Tharp. So, so this is the part that you have to pay attention to, and then also line. If you move down a little bit more, it says line 43. It says, from 42. Sung by Sister Tharp since infancy in Negro churches all over the country. So, which means church is the first one that sing. That's why churches all over the United States be. And then move on to the next paragraph. Music publishing was important as early gospel entrepreneurs well understood, but it didn't have the glamour of sound recordings. Some of that glamour became Rosetta's when she signed the contract the same month with Decca Records. And then Decca had recorded songs by gospel singer Mahalia Jackson in May 1937. I believe that there's one question about Mahalia Jackson. Let me see. Yeah, question 30. It says, according to the passage, quality the Tharp had that Marley Jackson lacks. So we have to continue to read to find this information since it talks about Marley Jackson. And then later on move on to like next sentence, didn't venture back into gospel until took chance to Rosetta 17 months later with her bell-like voice, winning smile. So her bell-like voice, winning smile and Cotton Club. Notoriety, Rosetta had combination of musical good and showbiz fairs. So Mahalia had lacked. So lacked is the one. So line 60 you have to pay attention to. So this question, question 30, show business fair. So combination of that, so it's G. And then continue to read next 1938, Rosetta, and then successful there. Hard remember, difficult to say, but successful enough to bring Rosetta back for a second session, 1939, and keep her Decca employee until mid-1950s. And then last paragraph, Rosetta's first session reveals a young woman capable of finding and communicating the emotional core of song through exquisite phrasing, inventive vocal technique, and all these things like, talk about her style of singing and whatever. And then later on, line 78, like a blues or jazz singer, Rosetta tend to sing around the beat rather than on top of it, allowing, that's another like style of it too. And then, yeah. And moving on to question number, like main purpose, we'll probably like do at the end, but then it's not that difficult in a way. If you think about like the entire this passage, it's just like talk about how Rosetta, her career of, as a singer that, and also like timeline it gives everywhere too. So if you think about one by one, I'll say it's D. Yeah, significant events occur early in Tharp's musical career, right? So it's 1937, 8, 9, things like that. And then question number 22, based on the information, first paragraph, the role of Cab Calloway and the Nicholas brothers in 1938. Yeah, I forgot to answer this first paragraph thing. It says that line 4, 5, it goes on, and then at the end, line 8. Like other new attraction, Rosetta constitute one part of huge supporting cast performers who largely filled time between the big numbers, the early like blah blah blah. So that's sort of like giving us idea that the performers aren't like come together with. So that's why it is F. Moving on to question 26. According to the passage, vocalist who sings several notes within the space of singing a single syllable. Single syllable, I remember that, I see at the end. It says, yeah, here. Sing several notes within space of single syllable. And then that's what line 76, melisma is what it is, the definition of it. So, melisma. And then question 28, according to the passage, blues singer confront the harshness of the world through. The harshness part, you probably see that, yeah, line 28, the both confronted the harshness of the world with determination to make a way out of no way. So make a way out of no way means you have to make your own way. And then this way was through God. It was through self-reliance. Okay, right here, self-reliance. That's why the answer is F. And 29, which of the following events in the passage happened first? So now read one by one. Decca record, that's a later on. The Mahalia Jackson records songs with the Decca record. Maybe because, yeah, that's like the similar, I mean, the difference that they actually like compared to. But then we have to find the evidence on this one. And the C, meals, music, published, that's like also a later part too. And then D, Cab Calloway and Nicholas Brother, maybe this one. Or B or D is the one that we define. So let's check out the Mahalia Jackson part. Mahalia Jackson is, I believe that it's around 53. Decca record song says 1937, right? And then May 1937, and then the Cab Calloway thing is line 3, 1938. Oh, because of that is Mahalia Jackson will be the answer. So which is B. Now, as I said earlier, when you read storytelling, always you have to pay attention to who, what, why, when, how, where, all those things. So in this case, time was pretty important. Moving on to next paragraph, next passage, natural science. Natural science is basically the structured as like persuasive essay, or like you need to pay attention to first part of the paragraph, each paragraph. So if you look at the passage, before looking at the passage, if you look at the question, it can be resuming for the passage, the author's attitude towards Shakespeare's writing, attitude. And then 2, reflect the reader's experience when encountered the functional shift. And then number 33 is resuming for that passage that experiments control sentence was designed, experiments control sentence. And the main function of first paragraph. So first paragraph, oops. So then you go at the end of first paragraph, write 34. And then it can be written inferred from the passage that researchers use ordinary language. And then 36, the passage makes clear that both N400 effect and P600. And then summarize 59. So 59 is 37. 59. And then 38, according to the passage, functional shift. Shakespeare referred to way that Shakespeare, okay. And then 39, researchers suggest that the brain process noun and verbs. And then the last paragraph, when you do this in an actual test situation, you need to do way faster. I'm using computer and also I have to go move up and down, but then usually like on the test place is side by side, right? So you just like look at the next page, right next to each other. So it's much faster. It has to be. Okay, and then move on to the passage itself. It says word semantic refers to meaning a word or a sentence conveys. So syntax refers to grammatical structure. So meaning or structure. Okay, the linguistic phenomenon in Shakespeare, which is known functional shift, refers to the way that Shakespeare will often use the part of speech, noun, and or adjective, say, to serve as another, often a verb shifting its grammatical nature with minimal alteration to its shape. Thus, Lear in Lear, for example, Edgar comparing himself to the king, he childed. So which means child's supposed to be noun, but then he used it as a verb. That's what it's saying about the functional shift. So question 34, it says main purpose of function. First paragraph. Obviously, it is about what functional shift is. So because of that, it is F, defined functional shift. Now moving on to the next paragraph, it says research suggests that there one specific part of brain that process noun and another part that process verb. But what happened when in microsecond there is a serious hesitation between whether in context this is noun or verb? It's a question, right? So I remember that one of the questions talks about subject and verb, noun and verb, which is question 39. According to the passage, research suggests that brain process noun and verbs in. So going back to this line here, it says line 11, one specific part of brain process this, another part of brain process verb. So it is two separate parts of brain that it deals with. So because of that, the answer has to be. Then move on to the next paragraph. It says, with help of my colleague language, Victoria Gonzalez Diaz, as well as scientists, I designed a set of stimuli for the examples of Shakespeare's functional shift. At this very early and rather primitive stage, we could not give our students subjects undiluted lines of Shakespeare because too much in the brain would light up in too many places. So the stimuli we create was simply to do with noun to verb, verb to noun, shift toward themselves. And then ordinary language around them. So I remember one of the questions talks about ordinary language. It was question 35. Question, it says passage that ordinary language and experiments stimuli because it says that too many places, light up too many places, line 21, Shakespeare, because too much in the brain would light up in too many places. So it's difficult to figure out what specific part that they're actually like testing out. That's why if you read through answer choices, D, too much brain activity. Okay, and then move on to the next paragraph. It says around each of those sentences functional shift. We also provided 3 counterexamples which were shown on screen to experiment subjects in random order. All they had to do was press a button saying whether the sentence roughly made sense or not. Thus below, A, accompany is sentence which is conventional grammatical, make simple, and the B and C and D. So if you read A, B, C, D here, you can find something different, each one of them. So case of A and B, only thing that you can find is accompany me or charcoal me. And then C is also incubate. And then D is also saying about companion. So which is, accompany is verb, but then charcoal is noun, and then incubate is verb, and companion is also noun that you can see. And then it says, so far we had just carried out EEG stage of experimentation. EEG works as follows in its graph, like measurements. And it's now semantic violation. Semantic is meaning, right? And then automatically register it's a called N400 effect, negative wave modulation 400. So N means negative, 400 means 400 milliseconds. And then it says N400's amplitude is small when semantic integration effort is needed. And then the example says the pizza is too hot to eat. And then the eat is it says when critical word is unexpected, therefore difficult to integrate, put together. So it says the pizza was too hot to sing. So question 37, if you go, best summarize this one. It basically says what N400 is, right? And then it gives you like an example of that. And then also it actually gives us idea of the amplitude itself. Like the N400 amplitude is small when semantic integration effort is needed. So having said that, if you come back to question 37, probably I can say scale of improve the brain disregard that doesn't make sense. And then B, N400 effort shows that brain misread the critical word. No. And then C, it depends on the degree to which word disrupt. Oh yeah, disrupt the sentence. Encounter difficulties to comply. Yeah, because it says that something about if it is disrupt, like difficult to integrate. That's why, excuse me, the pizza was too hot to sing. That's like difficult to integrate. And the next paragraph, line 60, but when brain senses a syntactic violation, there's a P600. And the meaning that is peaking approximately 600 millisecond after onset of the word of syntactic integrity. So now N400, P600, we saw like both of them. There's one question, I believe, it talks about both N400 and P600, which is line 30, question 36. Does it make it clear that both N400 effect and P600 effect are wave modulation that researchers use to now you have to think about wave modulation part, which is yeah, it says line 52, the negative wave modulation 400 and blah blah blah. And then also, yeah, and then what this question is asking is basically the researchers used to, what researchers try to do with this thing is I think beginning of the paragraph, I'll say they try to do this is experimentation, right? And then they talk about these things. And then certain like word is coming, and then how we respond to that is the one. So then like how many milliseconds it takes and all that stuff. So if you go like answer choice F, measure the brain's response to the language in the experimental stimuli. Yes. And then G, demonstrate that the brain cannot comprehend functional shift. No. Show the some student subject processed functional shift was quickly, nothing to do with what it is. Oh yeah, this is just F. This is a plain question. And then move on to next paragraph, and then it says preliminary results suggest this, and then A, B, C, D now it's given. So which means is the accompany me, no, and N400, P600 effect because it corrects both semantic and syntactically. So which means like meaning wise, structure wise is okay. But in the case of B, So they're comparing to the example, like, on the left side and at the end, right? So charcoal me. Structure is, I mean, grammar and meaning, both of them, it doesn't work, right? And then C, incubate me, that's like fine. But then it doesn't make sense at all. That's why synthetic, I mean, semantically, that's wrong. And then D, company me. In this case, grammatically wrong too, right? And then P600 is wrong, but then, like, it makes sense in a way too, because a company might come together, so it kind of, like, makes sense. Companion, I mean, come together. So what? And line 83. So what? First, it means functional shift was robust phenomenon. That is to say, it had a distinct and unique effect on brain. Instinctively, Shakespeare was right to use one of dramatic tools. Second, P600 effects continue after the word companion. It triggered it. The brain was thus primed to look out for more difficulty, to work at higher level. And then, like, whatever, last paragraph, Shakespeare is stretching us. He is opening up the possibility of other peaks, new potential pathway or development. Okay, go to question 40. The last paragraph most strongly suggests that, believes Shakespeare's language is something positive, right? It's just like open up more. So that's why it is G, introduced to higher level. Okay, move on to question 31. It says attitude, author's attitude about this, like, really positive. And frustration, no. Ambivalence is confusion. And intrigue, interesting, good. So C, disbelief, negative. And 32, functional shift, that when encounter function shift in Shakespearean play. So when you see, like, in a preliminary result ABCD, that, line 70 around that area, that you can find, like, you can search around, because that's like the part that we can see more. Especially if you go line 77, it says with the Shakespearean. So that's the part. It says high P600 and then no N400. So if you go, G, they switch it off. So it doesn't matter. So 33, it can most reasonably be inferred passage experiments control sentence was designed to. Control sentence is basically, it doesn't have any problem with, right? And then, which means no functional shift you can have. So, which means if you go line 16 and then all the way to, design 18, design a set of stimuli, 40 example of this function shift, right? And then, like, not giving student subject undiluted lines, because they want to make it, like, simple in a way. So because of that, this question, lack of function shift. So it's A, like, for control group. And then moving on to 38, it says functional shift in Shakespeare referred to the way of Shakespeare changing that, the noun to verb, right? So it's more about the meaning, semantic thing. So F, change a part of speech, word grammatically alter its shape. No. G, change the grammatical nature of word by using one part of the speech to serve another. Yeah, noun to verb. That's what it is. G. Okay. Since I have to read through everything, so it's really like a slow pace. But then if you think about not speaking out loud, you can do, like, the way that how you can do possibly, it's much faster pace you can do. But what what I'm saying is you have to have a specific purpose of doing it. So while you're reading it, you're supposed to have something in your mind. Then you keep like comparing each other and stuff like that. And then if you don't know what to do with one particular question, you don't need to get frustrated. You just skip and do other things and then you come back to it. Okay, always you have to be flexible about it. So this is it for test 37 reading section. So we'll see you again for other tests. Bye-bye.